Look, I just want to pause for a quick second here at the start of this explainer. If you're watching this right now, there's a really good chance you're carrying a pretty heavy emotional weight. You might be feeling completely exhausted, overwhelmed, or honestly, just kind of lost in the noise of your own life. And I want to validate that feeling right out of the gate. It's real and it is heavy. But over the next few minutes, we're going to look at that exact weight through a completely different lens.
Have you ever felt like everything is just falling apart? Like the problems literally refuse to end? When our hearts are just completely drained, it is so natural to look up and ask, why is this happening to me? It feels like incredibly bad luck, or worse, some kind of punishment. But what if that awful feeling of breaking down is actually the foundation of something incredibly powerful being built? Psychology actually tells us something super fascinating about this. Strong people aren't those who live a life completely free of problems. That's a total myth. Truly strong people are those who figure out how to handle themselves despite the chaos swirling around them. Enduring hardship isn't about the absence of pain. It's this fundamental paradigm shift in how we view that pain. It's about realizing that your response to it is where your true power actually lies.
Let's dive into Section 1, Signs of Divine Change.
See, what feels like an absolute breakdown in your life right now might actually be a divine intervention. It could literally be the very beginning of a deep, profound spiritual change you've been subconsciously craving. Take a look at the definition of hidayat, or guidance. We usually think of guidance as, a clear map handed to us on a silver platter. But it's not just the path. Sometimes it's a sudden, jarring event. Sometimes it's a severe hardship. Sometimes it's a painful awakening that forcefully kicks open the rusted, closed doors of our hearts. The divine wakes up a heart in so many unpredictable ways, often through the exact circumstances that the rest of the world mistakenly labels as just bad luck.
So, what does this actually look like in real life? Well, it usually starts with internal awakenings. You might start noticing that the worldly shine, the endless scrolling on social media, the desperate need for people to praise you, those super loud gatherings, they suddenly just lose their appeal. At first, you might think, wait, am I depressed? But losing interest in these fleeting, worldly things isn't necessarily depression at all. It's often the very first psychological sign that your priorities are elevating towards something so much higher, toward the divine.
Which brings us to this really beautiful realization. If you feel a deep restlessness or guilt after making a mistake, say missing a prayer or slipping back into an old bad habit, please do not despair over that. Think about the incredible wisdom in this prophetic hadith. That guilt you're feeling, that is a polished heart reacting to a stain. A dead heart feels absolutely nothing when it messes up. If you feel restless when you stumble, it's a beautiful, undeniable sign that you have a living, waking heart. So how do you sustain this? Let's move to Section 2, Steps to Stay Strong and Evolve. Step 1 requires a massive shift in your mindset. Notice the comparison here. When hardship hits, weak minds get completely paralyzed by the question, why did this happen to me? They get stuck endlessly complaining about the problem. Strong minds, though, they pivot immediately. They ask, okay, what can I do better right now? What is actually within my control? Shifting your focus away from an unchangeable past to the actionable present literally stops your mental energy from just draining away. And that perfectly sets up our second step, emotional regulation. A calm mind is literally your absolute biggest weapon. When anger, fear, or despair hits you, your brain desperately wants to react instantly. Don't let it. Just pause. Give yourself some time. Emotional intelligence is knowing that decisions made in the heat of fear or anger almost always end in regret. By just taking a breath and pausing, you're protecting your future self. Now, as you practice this inner calm, something kind of magical happens to your outer world. We call these external awakenings. You're going to naturally start distancing yourself from toxic, complaining friends. Those old, empty hangouts you used to love, they're suddenly going to feel like a heavy burden. And instead, you'll find yourself really craving the company of positive, righteous people. As your heart cleanses itself, the divine is actually cleansing your environment too.
And why does this shift in your environment matter so much? Just reflect on this profound hadith. You naturally absorb the traits of the people you spend the most time with. It's a fact. Psychological growth requires shedding a negative environment. If you genuinely want to elevate your life, you have got to surround yourself with people who remind you of your higher purpose, not the ones who just drag you back into the noise. Let's zoom out a bit and look at how this builds into the cycle of hardship. This is essentially the mechanics of post-traumatic growth. First, you experience the difficulty. Second, and this is the crucial pivot, you ask, what is this trying to teach me? Third, you emerge stronger. Hardships aren't stop signs. They're grueling, intensive masterclasses meant to teach us lessons that a comfortable, easy life never, ever could.
This completely reframes everything we know about struggle. Look at the definition of azmaish, or hardship. You've got to stop viewing your current struggles as a sign of divine anger. It's divine training. Think about it. Diamonds are literally just carbon that refused to quit under extreme pressure. That pressure you are feeling right now, that is the exact precise weight needed to forge your resilience.
All right, let's bring it all together. Section 3, the ultimate transformation.
The most profound realization you are ever going to have lies in this specific shift. You finally stop seeking peace from the creation, and you start seeking it from the Creator. You realize that no amount of money, no amount of human validation, and no amount of fame will ever fill that hollow void in your chest. True, unshakable peace, that only comes from an unbroken connection with the divine. Because as it is so beautifully stated, verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. When you align your life with a purpose that is vastly greater than your own ego, all that psychological anxiety just begins to melt away. The restless heart finally finds its home. It is a profound truth that cures the deepest modern anxieties we all face today.
As this newfound peace settles in, your maturity just skyrockets. A transformed person fundamentally changes how they view their circumstances. You totally stop pointing fingers at the economy, at how you were raised, or at your bad luck. Instead, you embrace radical self-awareness. You take responsibility. You start looking at your own actions, your own heart, and you ask, how can I be better today than I was yesterday?
And that brings us to the seventh and honestly, arguably the most moving sign of true change. Your prayers completely transform. Take a look at this. Your old prayers were probably just a wish list, right? Give me wealth, give me an easy life, fix this specific problem for me. But your new prayers, they elevate. You start asking, guide me, make me sincere, make me someone you love. When what you ask for shifts from worldly desires to spiritual elevation, your entire reality shifts with it. So I've got to ask you directly, are these signs popping up in your life right now? That exhaustion with the world, that guilt over mistakes, that shifting circle of friends, those changing prayers, are you feeling them? Because if you are, please do not ignore this call. It is time to establish your prayers, to fiercely guard your time, and to actively step into that higher version of yourself that is just waiting to be realized. I'm going to leave you with this final, incredibly powerful thought. Oh Allah, make me yours. It is so incredibly simple, yet it holds the absolute key to the ultimate peace we've been exploring in this explainer. I really want you to internalize this. In fact, if this journey resonated with your heart today, leave this exact phrase in the comments as a digital mark of your commitment. Let it be the very first step in your awakening arc. Stay strong, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.